Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all well. I hope you have had a fantastic weekend. The weather weren't great where I was, but I did have a good time with friends and with family. So I hope that you've all done the same thing. Of course, England and the Euros was on, so I think everybody probably watched that and have just about recovered from it. What a what's the word? Heart-stopping moments was it? I mean, not in the most exciting ways, of course, but we did get through on penalties. So if anybody does want to check out any of the reaction from that, then please make sure that you do that. Last couple of videos that I've done does mention, of course, Bukayo Saka and England. So please make sure you check that one out. Myself and Igal did a show last night, which was well worth a watch, talking about the reaction of the Ornstein bomb, which of course we will talk about today. Big up to everybody that's here. Make sure you do me a favor and make sure you smash a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe as well to the channel, of course. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Good morning to Chris. Good morning to Colin. Good morning to Tony. Good morning to Dan. Good morning to Paul. Good morning to Matt. Good morning to Steve. Big up, Tally. Hope you're well, bruv. Big up to Absol. Big up to It's Me, Everest. Big up to Sharky. Big up to Mustafa. Big up to my mum. Big up to Sharky and big up to Kevin as well. Great to see you all here. Great to see you all here so bright and early on a Monday morning. The week is about to start, which means the transfer news is going to be coming in. So let's take a look at some of the stories. Please make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get up to 30K as soon as we can. And I do want you guys to be a part of the community. So please make sure that you are all doing that. It's 2 clicks of a button, like button, subscribe button, and it's free. And hit the notification bell as well, because then it will tell you when I'm on and you won't miss a show then. So please make sure that you do that. There's quite a lot to talk about today. Quite a lot of news in relation to Manchester United. There's quite a lot of news in relation to Arsenal, Liverpool and City as well. Brighton, been very busy over the last couple of days. And there's talk of some of the other clubs as well, Newcastle, West Ham. So we're going to get to it. Tonight there'll be a show around about 7 o'clock. Please make sure you don't miss it. Please make sure you hit the notification bell so you know that when we are on. So, yeah, let's get to it, shall we? I think there's nowhere else to start other than Manchester United. Manchester United have been busy in the last couple of days. And I think, to be fair, the reason that they will be busy is because this new structure is now in place. Ten Hag, they know he's staying. The new structure is here. There is a lot of kind of hope from Manchester United fans that the new structure in the likes of Dan Ashworth, who's now in, Jesse Wilcox, who's now in, Barado, who's now in, and of course Jim Ratcliffe as well, who's come in as the kind of leader, I suppose, of Manchester United. We need to see what they're all about. Ruud van Nistelrooy, as Mustafa has said in the chat, has been kind of confirmed and is on his way to Manchester United, and there's rumours of more to come in and help. So it won't just be all on Ten Hag. So I'm really interested to see what happens in the coming days at Manchester United. But first of all, they are linked with this guy. Now, Joshua Zirkzee has done well at Bologna. He scored goals. He looks a different profile striker to Rasmus Højlund. He's definitely tall, can bring players into play, knows where the goal is. And he's young as well, so obviously has potential. Now, I know Arsenal was sniffing around him as well, but it looks like Manchester United have got to a stage where the deal is very close to be completed. Now, I believe there's a £40 million release clause. However, unfortunately for Bologna, Bayern Munich are getting a lot of the money and a lot of the sell-on clause from this. So I think they're due a few £1,000,000 from this deal because of a player sale or sell-on fee that was agreed in the contract when he signed for Bologna. Now, if you're Bologna, you must be thinking, my goodness, we finally get Champions League football. We lose our manager to Juventus. We're losing our best striker to Manchester United. And we're potentially losing our best defender to Arsenal. We'll come back to that in a minute. Wow. Not the best of starts to the season for Bologna, who are just trying to prepare for their pre-season. Haven't even got all their players back yet. And all of a sudden, boom, their players are mass exodus out the door. So watch this space with Manchester United and watch what happens on Joshua Zirkzee. Do we think this is a good player for Manchester United? Or do we think this is a good signing for, or do you think it's a good move for Joshua Zirkzee, I suppose, as well? Because, you know, he's guaranteed first team football at Bologna. Is he going to play alongside Rasmus Højlund, or is he going to add to the quality there? Or is he going to play ahead of Rasmus Højlund? We're going to have to see what he is all about. Now links to another player. Now, this player actually is linked with Arsenal, or we're set to compete with Manchester United for this centre forward. It is a player I have never heard of. which is never a good sign as far as Arsenal and Manchester United are concerned. But it is the Ajax centre forward, Brian Brobby. Now, I don't really understand much about the Dutch league, but from what I hear, he's highly rated. He is a 20-year-old centre forward, 22 years old, sorry, excuse me. And he had a bit of a spell at Ajax when he was younger, scored a couple of goals in the COVID era. Then he went over to Leipzig, didn't really hit it off, got a loan move back to Ajax, and then has hit it off. Now, last season, we're looking at a few goals. He's got 30 goals in 60 games for Ajax, so it's kind of one every two, I suppose. Goals. He's only 5'11", which is not an amazing height for a striker, but is highly rated over in the Dutch league. Now, it does sound strange that Manchester United are looking at the Dutch league again. I thought those days were done when it comes to Ten Hag at Arsenal, but we'll see. It's not looking like this guy is going to excite many, that's for sure. But he is, of course, linked today with a £30 million move to Arsenal or to Manchester United. Watch this space on Brian Brobby. I don't know much about him, but once you hear the name, you start looking at YouTube compilations. People, I'm sure, will start to get excited. But I've got to be real. It wouldn't excite me if I was an Arsenal or Man United fan. That's for sure. Somebody looks like coming out of Manchester United is, of course, Jadon Sancho. Now, Jadon Sancho, we spoke about before in terms of links away from Manchester United and the fact that he was potentially being offered 2 Premier League clubs. Well, today, there's other clubs that are coming in. Juventus is one of them. Now, Juventus are looking to try to sell Chiesa, who at 26 years old, I think is a very, very good signing for somebody, but has a lot of injury problems. If you remember, he absolutely burst onto the scene in his early 20s and was doing very well at the Euros. Everybody was talking about him as the winger that everybody wanted. And he's kind of settled down a little bit in the last couple of years. We haven't heard much from him. But Jadon Sancho is apparently the one that Juventus are trying to raise funds for. They're looking at holding talks about what type of offer they would like to make to Jadon Sancho at 24 years old. And I think Manchester United are looking at around 40 to 50 million for Jadon Sancho, who at the age of 24 has still got a lot of potential. So watch this space on Jadon Sancho. I did say that if it was between Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford at Arsenal, I would, of course, want Jadon Sancho. However, I don't know that a Premier League move is something that Manchester United would favour if a club from one of the other leagues in Europe comes in. And it looks like Juventus are one of those. Don't ever forget that Borussia Dortmund love this guy as well. Could there be something that could happen over there? I don't know. They're not linked at the moment, but I'm sure that they will be a big, big fan of Jadon Sancho because, listen, he's a top talent. And when he's on his day, I just don't think it's worked for him at Manchester United. However, I do think he's a player that we should be keeping our eyes on for sure in terms of what Manchester United are doing. Let's talk about this guy, shall we? Because apparently today, Manchester United are going to be having a discussion and holding a meeting about the transfers, which will include a decision whether to make another bid for Jared Branthwaite. Now, Jared Branthwaite at 22 years old has potential. But is he worth the £80 million that Everton are looking for? Now, you've got to remember that Everton are in FFP problems. They want to try to do what they can this summer to bring in players. And that is why you're going to see, if anybody wants Everton players, they're going to be a lot of money. Now, Jared Branthwaite is one that they look at as potentially the next John Stones. So, of course, he's going to be good money. I think he's going to be an excellent centre-half, I must say. But is he going to be worth £80 million? Is that worth throwing £80 million at when you're looking at De Ligt, who's only half that? Maybe not. We'll see. Jared Branthwaite is a player along with Onana that I think will be a hell of a lot of money if anybody wants them from Everton. And £80 million, that's got to come down. You know, 22 years old, he's not played any Champions League football. He's not gone in any title race. He's not stepped up to that level. He's not even got an England cap yet. I mean, wow, it really is quite mad and scary to think that at £80 million, that's what you could be at 22 years old. Now, I'm not putting anything against Jared Branthwaite. I think he's been fantastic. But for me, going in at 35 might have been a little bit cheeky, although Max Kilman did go for 40 from Wolves to West Ham. I do think you've got to be looking at around about the 55, 60 mark. A little bit similar to what Ben White went, you know, and what Mark Guehi is rumoured to go for. I think that's fair. So watch the space. Watch this space on Jared Branthwaite. I think it's a player that I must say I do actually like. I must say I do like, but 80 million pounds, really? Like, let's be real, guys. 80 million pounds is an absolute joke, if I'm honest with you. Before we leave Manchester United, we are going to touch on this guy. Today, there are rumours that he will be leaving and wants his future sorted out next week. There are the following clubs interested in taking a look at Mason Greenwood: Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, Lazio, Marseille, and Valencia. And Valencia have apparently made a bid of 25 million, and they're interested in the 22-year-old England international. I think Manchester United are going to accept that. I think they need to allow their future to be without or away from Mason Greenwood. It's not a player I look at and see as a future anywhere near Manchester United. And what's kind of scary, I suppose, if you're a Manchester United fan, is that you had Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, and Rashford that could have been your front three, and none of them have really worked out. Now, I understand you might say Rashford's worked out, but at the age of 26 that he is now, and he's not really hit the hype that you expected him to when he burst on the scene at 17, 18. Jadon Sancho, when you signed him for over 80 million, everyone was excited. And Mason Greenwood come through and you thought, wow, this kid's going to be special. To have that front three, all brilliant on their day, and none of them to work out at Man United, yeah, it's disappointing as a Manchester United fan, I'm sure, but I'm here for it without being horrible. I should be impartial more on this channel, but I am sitting here with an Arsenal shirt. We all know that I'm a gooner. So, listen, it hasn't worked out for him, and I think they need to try and get a move elsewhere. So, watch this space. This one is very, very interesting. This next rumor, it's away from Manchester United, and it involves Newcastle, but it doesn't just involve Newcastle. It involves Liverpool, who are interested in Anthony Gordon, but now Manchester City have come in to the mix, and they are now looking at Anthony Gordon. Now they want a winger. I didn't think they wanted somebody who plays predominantly on the left-hand side because they've signed Savio, they've got Doku, they've got Grealish. Maybe one or two of those might be looking at a move away. I think they need somebody for the right-hand side, but apparently City have registered interest in wanting to bring in the 23-year-old. Now, I don't know how much that's going to cost. His contract does not run out until 2026, so Newcastle aren't any pressure to sell him. He was bought for around about 60 million, and he's had a very, very good season. I think they're going to have to throw him towards 80 to 85 million if they even want to try and tempt Newcastle to consider selling him. This could be a big, big money signing, particularly if Liverpool and Man City, who at the moment aren't really linked with many other players, are going for him. Then I think this could be one that has some legs. Now, I know Anthony Gordon was kind of flirting with the move to Liverpool. I think he's a Liverpool fan. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think that's going to go down too well with Everton fans. Newcastle fans as well are probably going to be thinking, wow, all of our players that are hitting the heights are wanting moves away or have been linked with moves away. Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, and now Anthony Gordon. But that's what happens. When you're the club that's coming in with these signings, you are going to get interest from when they're playing well. It's a compliment. So Newcastle fans sometimes get a little bit precious. Oh, keep away, keep away. Mate, this is good. It means they're doing well. This is what happens. This is what happens when you're a club. Arsenal have gone through it. That's why people will go, definitely in the next year to 12 to 18 months, Real Madrid will come in for Saliba. It will happen, guys. It is a compliment to the player and it's a compliment to your team. So I don't know why people get so precious and hecked up about it. It's as if they were like, this guy's happy at Newcastle, he's never leaving. It will happen. Alexander Isak will get itchy feet if you don't win trophies. Likewise, Bruno, likewise, Gordon. It happened with Fabregas with us. It happened with Van Persie with us. It happened with Alexis Sanchez with us. Unfortunately, you've got to win because the aim is to win trophies, and that's how you keep players happy. So watch this space on Anthony Gordon. I don't think there's any bids coming in of yet. I don't know what it's going to take to try and allow him to be a player that comes and potentially gets itchy feet. But we'll see what happens in this one. I think it's going to be a real interesting one because out with England at the moment, of course, when the Euros finishes, I think this window is going to go absolutely crazy. We're starting to see now a little bit of movement, and that's without even the players really returning back from the Euros for long. So once that Copa America and Euros finishes, I think it will go mad within the next couple of weeks. I really do. So watch this space on this one. Yeah, we'll have to see where we are at. Let's talk a little bit about staying with Manchester City on this guy. Now, people have forgotten about João Cancelo, but the Portugal defender João Cancelo, who is now 30, has been offered to both Inter Milan and Juventus after returning to Manchester City following the end of his loan spell at Barcelona. So watch the space on this one. I really like him. I think he's a fantastic fullback. I think he's one that can play in both right and left. And I think also with João Cancelo, he can play in the inverted role, very attack-minded as well, has got brilliant technical ability. I don't think that Manchester City have really replaced him, if I'm honest with you. I know a lot of people say that Nathan Ake is a better defensive player and Gavardi was a better defensive player, but when they had Kyle Walker and João Cancelo, it was like, yeah, I'm kind of jealous. Like they both were really, really good and both very similar in terms of how they play, actually. I thought. So, yeah, João Cancelo, very good player and being offered now to Italy. So watch this space. There's a lot of rumours that Theo Hernandez is the guy that's going to be coming in to replace João Cancelo from Manchester City. That worries me a little bit as an Arsenal fan because he is an absolute baller. I have to say, big fan of Theo Hernandez. Obviously scored the winning penalty the other night. I think he could be a very, very good player for Manchester City if they were to sign him. And as I said before, and I keep saying it, Manchester City have not had a left back that I look at and go, wow. They just haven't. They just have not. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for sure to see what happens with Manchester City and how many players that they get, because there's a lot of reports suggesting that, you know, they might not be as busy as they usually are. So, yeah, watch this space on this one for sure. Let's talk about Jarrod Bowen, because there are links this morning with Jarrod Bowen to Newcastle. Now, apparently, Newcastle have shown a lot of interest, according to Football Insider. The 27-year-old has no plans to leave West Ham, and West Ham certainly have no plans to sell. But West Ham value him at more than £100 million. Now, that is going to put off Newcastle. Surely Newcastle wants to add Jarrod Bowen with Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes as opposed to replacing him with one of them. Now, I know that they're a fan of Jarrod Bowen, and why wouldn't they be? He's been really good for West Ham in the last few seasons, and I actually think he's one of the many in the Premier League that's proven that you can buy a Championship player and do well with them, you know, along with Eze, along with Elise. Some would say Jack Grealish as well is one that's come through from the Championship, and they've proven that you can actually have a really good career if you're a Championship player, and I love that. I think that's fantastic, and I think Jarrod Bowen is one of them. But £100 million? Come on. Like, let's just be real here. There is no way that he is worth that much money. There's absolutely no way. Sometimes you just got to be realistic, and you've got to understand that, you know, yeah, you just got to be more realistic about some of these prices. I mean, Jarrod Bowen is not £100 million, is he? Like, let's just be real. There is absolutely no way that he is. And some people will say, yeah, well, that's what we think he's worth. I understand that. You know, I understand that they thought Bryce was 150 million to them and Jarrod Bowen is 100 million to them. But there's no way you're buying a 27-year-old England international who cannot get into the first team for £100 million. That's just not right. You know, Gordon and Bowen going for those sort of prices is scary for me. Is absolutely scary for me. Because there's no way those two should be anywhere near £100 million. But this is the market that we're in. This is the market now. £100 million. Now, I know that Newcastle were looking for a right midfielder. I think they were looking at a right winger of Elise before he went to Bayern Munich. They're now interested, of course, in Jarrod Bowen. I think it looks like Miguel Almiron is probably going to be leaving. And Harvey Barnes and Gordon are more left wingers than right wingers. So they will be looking at a right winger. Jacob Murphy, I'm not too sure about the future of him, but he's always going to be a backup, even if he does stay at Newcastle. So I can see why they're looking at Jarrod Bowen. But West Ham are going to be looking at him thinking, he's one of our best players. 100 million, let's ward him off. So I can understand why it's happening. But if Newcastle even think about paying anything near that, that's crazy in my opinion. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, watch this space. Let's move to Liverpool, because we're going to be talking about this guy. Now, I don't know much about him, but Gleison Bremer, Juventus centre-back, Liverpool, and now apparently one of 4 teams that are taking a look at this deal. Now, I don't know much about him, but I will say that Liverpool are going to need a centre-half, in my opinion. Van Dijk can't play the 30 to 40 games that he used to be able to. I know that people still think he's a world-class centre-half, and it's absolutely right to think that. But him and Konaté, I think as a partnership, needs to be looked at for the future. I think Liverpool need to look at someone to partner Kenyatte, and I would be so amazed if they didn't look at the interest of somebody like Mark Guehi, who's interested from Palace, or available from Palace, should I say. I'll be amazed if they don't look at Diamande over at Sporting Lisbon, who's probably going to cost around 51 million release clause. That would be a phenomenal signing for Liverpool. And of course, this guy, Bremer. Now, I don't know much about him. I have no idea how solid he is, how fantastic he is. I haven't done my research. I've literally found out this morning that Liverpool are interested in him. So take a look at that, because I think along with a defensive midfielder, a centre half, and maybe a number 9, a proper number 9 at Liverpool, I think Liverpool could easily go for the title again. And people are sleeping on Liverpool now. They think that Arne Slot coming in because Klopp's left, that's it. They can't go for it. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Liverpool should be going for the title this coming season, 100%. I think their squad's still good enough. They've kept Alisson. They look like they're keeping Salah. Looks like Trent and Van Dijk are going nowhere. They're interested in a left back, whether it be Nori or Anthony Robinson, or I think are two of the better left backs in the league. If they get a centre half, now being linked with Bremer, if they're looking at another centre half names as well, along with a CDM, I think Liverpool are right up there. Like, let's be real, Liverpool don't need much. If they got a centre half, a left back, a CDM, and a striker, that's 4 signings. There is no reason why Liverpool can't compete for a title this coming season. I'm sorry, there's absolutely no reason why they can't. So, yeah, they might lose a couple of players. Luis Diaz, I think, wants out, but they've got Jota and Darwin Nunez that can play over on the left and cause havoc. Salah staying is massive. Like, Liverpool should be 100% going for the title still. I can't believe there's some that just feel that now Klopp's gone, that's it, and they've got to try and get scrape into top 4. It's an absolute madness. It really is. I've got to mention this guy, of course, because he deserves a mention. He has retired from football. 33 years old. He's decided to retire. He's left Liverpool following a final season at Anfield that was, let's be real, ruined by injuries. He is a absolutely phenomenal talent. And when he's fit, I think he's absolutely beautiful to watch. He's a phenomenal footballer, one that I have always been a big fan of, one that Pep Guardiola is a massive fan of. And if you remember, followed Pep Guardiola from Barcelona to Bayern Munich and become one of their best players before he went over to Liverpool. I love everything about Thiago. I think he is superb to watch. I think he's wonderful on the eye. I think he reads the game so well, one of the intelligent players. And I think he's had a great career. You know, he's won everything there is to win in the game. He go down as a Barcelona and Bayern Munich player that people will heavily respect. And you know what? Although it didn't work out for him at Liverpool, 100%, they will respect him and love the moments they did see where he played football. So I think he deserves a mention. I think he's a incredible player, and unfortunately injuries just didn't allow him to continue to play for longer, because at 33 that's not actually that old. So yeah, it's a shame, but it's something that for sure we need to mention and respect. There's nearly 350 of you watching, people. Do me a favor and hit the like button. We're not even at 100 likes yet, so please hit like, please hit subscribe. That's all I need you to do. Hit those 2 buttons. They're absolutely free, and that will really help the channel grow. So thanks so much for that in advance. Let's talk a little bit about Brighton, shall we? Because this player has always been one that I think has played well at Brighton. I think he's been a really, really good talent. And it's one that I look at and think, do you know what? I always wonder how he's not got a move before now. He's a player I respect. I think he's always had a good season in a shirt of course, Brighton. He's one player that I think we always forget about every year that does well. Pascal Gross. Now, he has gone to Borussia Dortmund. He's a player who I've always respected. They've reached an agreement to sign him. And Brighton, I think, have got a couple of players that they're linked with at the moment. And I'm always interested when Brighton are involved. I'm always interested in seeing who they're getting. And people always say to me, yeah, but everyone's gone to Chelsea now. They haven't got anyone. Trust me, they have. They're still going to make some good signings. And Pascal Gross has been one that I think they're going to miss. I really do. I think that he's one that's kind of stayed throughout. You know, when the likes of Ben White and Trossard and Caicedo and Bissouma were all leaving, he's kind of stayed. And I always thought, well, why is no one coming in for him? A little bit older, of course, than the others who are obviously at that high potential and massive ceiling. But I think you've got to respect what he's done for Brighton. I think Pascal Gross has been fantastic. One of the most consistent players that they have got, 100%. And sticking with Brighton, they've signed an Arsenal player who has, of course, left us to go and find a career path. And that is Mario Koscielny. Now, everybody calls him the mini Saka. Everyone believes that is going to be the next one that comes through. Well, he isn't going to come through at Arsenal anymore. He's been signed by Brighton. Watch this space on this kid because I really liked him. I remember me and my dad went to a game when the World Cup was on, believe it or not. It was miserable weather. We played Juventus in a friendly at the Emirates. And Koscielny and Ethan Nwaneri came on for Arsenal and they both lit the game up. And this was, by the way, a game that was completely friendly, didn't mean anything at all. It was literally just for fitness. And it was just a chance for families to get out and see some football that wasn't the World Cup. And of course, it was a very, very exciting game for both Ethan Nwaneri and Koscielny. So watch what he does at Brighton. I don't think he's going to come in and be first team straight away, but he's definitely going to fight for a place there. They believe he's got potential. I also believe from watching him that he's got potential. On the right-hand side, he can play left-hand side as well. Very small, very light, kind of, what's the word? Low center of gravity is the word I'm looking for. So watch this space. Absolutely quick, flair on the right-hand side, tenacity. I think he could be a very, very good prospect for Brighton. So I'm interested to see how he does. I really am. I'm interested to see how he gets on there. I don't think it's a player that you will see 100% get into the first team straight away at Brighton. But they've obviously looked at him and thought there's something about him that they like. So let's see what happens there. I think it's going to be a very interesting one for Brighton. Everybody likes young players. Well, he's one of them. That's for sure. He's absolutely one of them. So, yeah, watch this space on this one for sure. Let's end with some Arsenal news, shall we? There has to be one place to start, and it was the Ornstein bomb last night. I love an Ornstein bomb. It came out of nowhere. Very, very similar to some of the others, to be honest, that we have seen over the years. And it's this guy, Dan Bentley. Arsenal are favourites to sign the 30-year-old Wolves goalkeeper, Dan Bentley. Now, before everyone starts losing their heads and shouting Edu out, I don't think this is going to come in and replace Aaron Ramsdale. From what I'm hearing and what I believe, he's going to come in as the third choice goalkeeper. And he is going to be the homegrown equivalent of Manchester City's Scott Carson. That's what myself and Igal were talking about last night on the show. I don't think he's going to come in and be an absolute, pushing David Raya. He's playing as backup for Wolves. Very highly rated when he was younger. I remember him playing at Southend as a 19, 20-year-old, and everybody that I know that are Southend fans talking about this guy going to make it in the Premier League. Well, he did. He made it in the Premier League, but he hasn't held down a number one position. Now, that's very difficult to do, as we all know. But at 30 years old, he's going to come into Arsenal, we believe, from what Ornstein's saying. He's going to be a minimal fee. And it looks like he's going to count one as the homegrown player. Ornstein says that they like his character. They like the fact that he's been and had experience. And I think he's going to be one that comes in alongside David Raya and Ramsdale for now. And then we watch the space of Aaron Ramsdale. We watch the space of Aaron Ramsdale and we say, can we get money for him? Is there a team that wants to pay 30 million for Aaron Ramsdale or more? To Chelsea, are they interested, or they want to go for somebody like Diogo Costa? Are a team like Brentford, like Wolves, like Bournemouth, happy or willing to pay 30 to 35 million for Aaron Ramsdale? Do they want him? A lot of people will say that's a lot of money for him. Some people will say they can't afford him. I think it'd be a fantastic signing for someone in the Premier League. I really do. I think it would be a phenomenal signing. But Dan Bentley's not going to come in to replace Aaron Ramsdale. I don't think he's going to come in and add to what we've got already, which I think will be a third choice goalkeeper. And if you remember over the years, Manchester City have done this for a long time now. I remember it was Richard Wright in his late 30s who was there. Stuart Taylor, I believe, was the one before that. And then, of course, Scott Carson, now at 39 years old, is winning trophies at Manchester City. He counts as homegrown. They literally play as a last resort. I don't think they ever get game time. But for me, this would be a fine bit of business if this comes in, because it's not really going to affect any of our future transfer business. It's not one that's going to excite us and get us off our feet, that's for sure. I'm not sitting there going, yes, Dan Bentley, what a signing. But at the same time, I think we need to be realistic about who we bring in goal. And if that is going to be someone for our third choice, let's see who goes at number 2. Now, there's rumours that Okonkwo obviously leaving and going to Wrexham, who had a really good season over there at Wrexham. And also, you've got Cole Hine, who's being linked with a loan move away, or a move away at least. So we're not going to have those guys there as our third choice. So perhaps they're looking at this and thinking, yeah, I think this will be an all right signing for a third choice goalkeeper. That's what they're clearly thinking. So not one to get us off our feet, guys. Not one to excite us, Gooners, I'm afraid. But it's certainly something that we might have to accept as being one of our easier signings. Another guy that, of course, we're massively linked with at the moment is Riccardo Calafiori. Now, Romano tweeted last night that at the moment there's not been an agreement in place on a fee, but there has been personal terms agreed. This one has got to be getting closer now. There's absolutely no way that we can stumble. Edu and Arteta have to do what they can to get this guy across the line. Apparently, they want 50 million euros, Bologna. We're looking at trying to pay something in the region of just under that, but I don't think we can be too fussy with this one. I think we just have to get it done and move on to our next target. Dan Bentley coming in as a goalkeeper cover. Calafiori coming in, who I think will play as our left back next season and compete with the likes of Jurriën Timber and Zinchenko, if of course Zinchenko stays. I think that will be a very, very good signing. And at £42 million, which I believe is what it is rumoured to be, I think that's a good signing for Arsenal. I think he's really good signing. I've liked a lot from what I've seen. I think he's a ball playing centre half. I think he's a ball playing left back. He can invert, looks comfortable on the ball, has a range of short and long passes. Looks to me to be very, very comfortable at defending as well. He's not somebody that you look at and goes forward straight away, but does have that to his game. I can't get the Maldini vibes comment out of my head from Henry. I think it's hilarious when you look at that comparison. I don't think you can compare anybody to who I think is the best fullback that I've ever seen in Paolo Maldini. But listen, he has been very highly rated over in Italy. So let's see where we are at with Calafiori. If we can get him in the region of 40 to 50 million pounds, I think that is a very good signing. I think for 40 million pounds, someone that everyone's talking about at the moment, great age at 22, along with Saliba, probably going to be two of the youngsters that people are looking at as being the future of centre halves. I think it could be fantastic. So I'm looking at that signing and I'm thinking this could be excited. So Calafiori, watch this space. Hopefully it will get done within this week or, of course, towards the end of the week. And what does that mean for this guy? Kiwior. Now, there's rumours that Kiwior may be leaving. I don't know for a fact that he's leaving, but there's a lot of people saying that he's getting a little bit of itchy feet, would like to get first-team football. And Arsenal have said to be open to offers for the Polish defender. Now, I quite like Kiwior. It's not a centre-half I look at and go, wow. He's not a defender I look at and think, yep, you need to be playing first-team football ahead of Gabriel or Saliba. But what I will say is when Jacob Kiwior's come in, he's done a good job. Whether it be at centre-back, whether it be at left-back, he's been really good. And I'm a big fan of him. But I don't think it's one that we would be able to say, do not sell him if something comes in the region of £25 million. I think we might look to let him go. Now, what does that mean for Arsenal's defence? And I've said this before. I don't mind like for like replacing if it's upgrading. And that is what this looks to be. Calafiori, we believe, is a better defender than Kiwior. Italian clubs are now looking at Kiwior because they believe that he's going to be shoved out, which means that Calafiori is going to be better. Now, he's double the price of Kiwior, which means that you'd like to think that he'd be a really good signing. But Kiwior has done all right at Arsenal. He has had a couple of mistakes and a couple of bad games. When he was asked to invert a left back, he couldn't do it. I think he is a centre half, not a left back. But he's one that can play in both those positions. And if we can get 25 million for him, which is pretty much what we signed him for, I think we signed him for just under 20 at the time, or maybe just over 20. If we can get 25 million pounds for him, I think that would be fair enough. If he wants first team football and he's unsettled and unhappy at the club, then fair enough. He's going to want to leave. And I think that's fair enough. But what do Arsenal do at the left-sided position? Because we've got so many players over there now. So many players. Yeah? We've got to be real about who we actually want to keep in that position. Because Nuno Tavares is still there. He's linked away with a move to Ajax. Kieran Tierney is still there, who's currently injured. Loan moves at Real Sociedad. Will he get another one or will he end up staying due to injury? We don't know. What's happening with Alexander Zinchenko? Is he going to be a player that we have to keep at the club, or is he going to be a player that doesn't have a future here? Does Arteta see him still in the inverted role as an option offensively, or does he see him playing as a midfielder now and somebody that we could play in more of a kind of box-to-box position, which is a position we don't really have at the moment? What happens with Kivior? Is Calafiori our left back if he comes in, or is it Jurien Timber who started there before he got injured? That left-hand side is very messy. And if I'm honest with you, the whole left-hand side of Arsenal was messy last season. But if we can actually have a little bit of stability there and know who's playing, and we have the start of the season, we know it's Gabriel at left centre back. We know it's Calafiori starting. We know in midfield on the left 8 it's going to be Declan Rice. We know that it's going to be Trossard or Martinelli, and we get ourselves a new striker. That might be allow us to have a little bit more balance over there, a little bit more stability, because the right hand side of Arsenal is set. We all know it's Saliba and White. We all know that it's Ødegaard and Saka with that new centre forward that hopefully we get. Needs to be some stability there and some sustainability there as well, because for me, what I don't like is the chopping and changing all the time. You cannot get that left-hand side settled if it starts to become a problem where you have a left-hand side that chops and changes. Last season, we had everybody playing at left back, whether it was Tomiyasu, Timber. We had Zinchenko playing there, Kivior playing there. In the left 8, it was Declan Rice sometimes, but it started as Havertz. It was Fabio Vieira for a while. It was Smith-Rowe for a while, if you remember. And then on the left-hand side, it was Trossard and Martinelli every other game. And Jesus played over there sometimes as well. So you can't switch it around that much. I understand you've got to rotate in this squad, but Arsenal needs something set on that left-hand side. And for me, you have to 100% get into your mind that this is our 11. And when it's fit, this is our 11. And this is our left-hand side. Because our right-hand side, as I mentioned, is set. Still no rumours or reports on a striker at Arsenal. Out of all the names, Victor Gyökeres is the one that Arsenal are apparently looking at favouring ahead of Victor Osimhen and some of the others. Tottenham are being linked with a move for Ivan Toney. That is one that I literally cannot get out of my head. I would really like Ivan Toney still if he was to become available. But there's a lot of people, when I spoke to judges about this, Igal last night, that don't think Arsenal will get a centre forward. They don't think we will get one. They think we'll keep Havertz and Jesus and Trossard, and we will get cover for Saka, a midfielder, a defender, and a goalkeeper. Would that be enough? I think we need a centre forward. I really do. And people will say, well, Arsenal scored the most goals last season, had the best goal difference, conceded the least amount of goals. Why do we need a striker? The only reason I will say that we do not need a striker is because Alexander Isak's coming the next summer. I'll be cool with that. If we went and got a winger, we went and sorted our midfield out, we get Calafiori in and the goalkeeper in, I'll be cool with that if it means that we've agreed for Alexander Isak to come in at Arsenal the following summer. I'll be cool with that because I think we can score the goals with Havertz. I think we can score the goals with Jesus. I think we'll be in that scenario, in that position where I think we'll be cool. But I need to be seeing that elite striker coming in at Arsenal. And at the moment, the only one that I see that is elite that could be potentially available soon is Alexander Isak. Now, if I wanted him this summer, it's going to be like 150 million plus. Ain't going to happen. But next season, depending on what happens with Newcastle, there's a lot of pressure for them to get top 4 to keep the likes of Bruno, Alexander Isak. They're not going to hang around forever. Newcastle need to be doing this. And if they're doing this, then they're going to be like, where are we going? And I think Arsenal would be the absolute perfect club for Alexander Isak. I mean, I look at everything about his play. It's just what we need. I know that he likes Arsenal. Big friends with Martin Ødegaard from their time together at Real Sociedad. And if you remember, I think Ødegaard got 15 assists for Isak in that season. So I would love for us to try and tempt him. I really would. The problem you've got with the players that Arsenal are linked with at the moment, whether it be Eze, whether it be Pedro Neto, whether it be Victor Osimhen, whether it be Alexander Isak, if we were going for him, injuries. A lot of people talk about injuries at the moment. Even Calafiori, people are talking about injuries. Now, luckily, his injuries when he was very much younger. But that is going to happen in football. Players get injured, man. And what we have to be doing is allowing that we're not playing these kids like we are at the moment, like Saka, every single game. We need to be bringing in somebody that is going to be able to cover and give competition. Like Martinelli and Trossard right now. We need that in every position. Yeah, we need that in every single position. And we're getting there. Arsenal are. But let's be real. We need to actually look realistically about who is going to be coming in at Arsenal and how they can fit into the mould of the squad. Now, a lot of people are talking about it, saying that the reason Dan Bentley is being looked at is because of his attitude. And I think that is definitely something that Arteta and Edu look at. I think they look at the player, they go into I think it was it Tom Canton talking about it, saying that when they signed Ramsdale, they looked at the whole of his background, the whole of his family, they looked at his upbringing, and they wanted to know what his attitude and what his personality was like. And there's a raw rumours that we've been put off by a number of players in that respect. Adrian Rabiot being one of them, Ivan Toney potentially being another. And there's other rumours in the past that we've gone for players and just haven't really liked their attitude. Dembele being one of them again. So we have to be realistic and know that these players are being looked at by the recruitment team, but they need to fit the mold of the system and of the player and style, and they need to fit into the dressing room as well. That is, of course, massive when it comes to signings. So let's be excited. Let's see what happens, and hopefully we have a very busy window. Listen, that's all from me this morning. Big up to all of you that are here. There's nearly 500 of you watching, which is great numbers this morning. So please do me a favor and hit that like button, because we have not hit 200 likes yet, people. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you hit subscribe as well, because we're trying to get to 30K. We're very, very creeping towards 21K now. So let's make sure that we can get towards that 30K very quickly, which is, of course, our next target. I want to try and hit that this season. So let's make sure that we do that. So hit those two buttons. They're absolutely free. Make sure you join me later on tonight. I'm going to be on Lee Judge's TV at 2 p.m. And then at 7 p.m. tonight, I'm going to be back here with a panel, and it is a lit panel. So please don't go anywhere. Hit that notification bar, notification bell, should I say, and make sure that you are part of tonight's chat. See you tonight on this channel at 7 p.m. Lee Judge's TV at 2 p.m. for Arsenal chat. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. And as always, up the Arsenal. Latest, people. Have a good day.